The importance of leaving a spiritual legacy. And then I'll come back with the final thought.
Now, there we go. All right. So, my name is Mitchell, and I'm a young adult leader here at Riverton. I've been going to this church since I can remember. I've gone here since kindergarten. It's kind of like it's a home to me. Many familiar faces in this room. Many people I've grown up with here in this room. And before we get into this, I want to read you a little bit of my testimony here that I jotted down. I think it's a pretty outstanding example of what it looks like to have an impact on someone and to install that legacy that Elena was talking about. So in 2012, I was an angry, depressed, and self-destructive 15-year-old, desperate for someone to answer my cries for help that were being channeled through radical and self-destructive behavior. This cry was answered at Camp Unite that year. This was my second or third year at Camp Unite. The date was June 22nd, 2012. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was close to 11 a.m., and the camp was playing games while one of the youth pastors prepared to give his annual 2 to 3 hour long sermon at camp. Now, this not being my first year at camp, I knew that the extended sermon was, I was preparing for the extended sermon by smoking weed I had snuck into camp that year with my friend I lived with. Just as we had finished up smoking, one of the youth pastors came walking along the trail all by himself to the bridge where my friend and I were at. At this point, we knew the gig was up. He began guilt-tripping us into confessing what we were doing. This led to me handing him the bag of weed from my pocket and the pipe we were smoking from. Needless to say, we got out of listening to the long sermon and instead sat with LMA and some of the other pastors and leaders, and I was given a lecture I was almost too high to remember. But I will never forget from the lecture what it was they all said at the same time. They said that I was a leader. Now this confused me. Here I had just been caught smoking weed at church camp, and then being called a leader and told God had great things in store for me an hour later. At first I was so confused. I was like, what do these people see in me that I've never seen before, or that any of my friends have seen before? And I think it's a type of compassion that a Christian leader has. It's a type of passion that God bestows with his holy grace in anyone who has any kind of anger towards somebody, anyone that needs any kind of compassion that can only be given by God's grace. Here I am expecting to get thrown out of this youth camp and sent home to my parents to be locked away in my bedroom until I turned 21. And they're telling me that God has great things in store for me and that I'm a leader. That is a legacy statement. To me, that meant more than anything in the world, that what they saw in me was that powerful, not to condemn me and not to punish me, but to want so much more for me than what I knew and what God had in plan for me. They wanted that for me, and they knew what it was. And no one gave up on me. Absolutely no one. I'm so fortunate that I have just the people I have in my life. I'm a rare case. My parents have been married for over 20 years now. Still going strong. My grandparents just celebrated their anniversary, their 51st anniversary.
61.
61st. Sorry. Their 61st anniversary a couple weeks ago. And in today's culture, I think the divorce rates are 40 to 50%, of all marriages, something like that. Now, to me, that's a problem. I have a big, big problem with that. Imagine a 10 to 15-year-old. They go to public school. They're not involved in youth. They've never done a Bible study, never read the Bible, don't know who God is. How do you think they sleep at night, knowing that there's just as much probability as their family breaking up as there is a coin landing on heads? How do you expect that from a youth to sleep with that kind of anxiety? It's too much. It's too much. This world has become too much for youth. And it's up to people like parents and grandparents. You are the ones that will have the most significant impact in your youth's life by leading by example, not forcing them to go to a Bible study because you hear other parents talk about that's what's right, but actually wanting them to go to the Bible study. They come back from the Bible study and you ask them how their Bible study was, and you can relate to what happened at the Bible study. Not send them there, ask them how their day was, and then, did you hear about God today? How was Bible study? Bible study was good? Great. Here's what we're having for dinner. That's not productive. Lead by example. I cannot stress that enough. I know you're probably thinking, this 19-year-old's telling me how to be a parent. This is biblical. I've read the Bible. I don't have any kids, but it's what I've read in the Bible. And it's become such a problem, this culture today. It's where we don't know what bathroom to use. Literally, that is a thing going on in America today. Some people are happy that they can use whatever bathroom they want. Some people have been fighting for that for a long time. And some people are completely opposed to it in such a high degree. And it's just these people that live in the same country just clashing like this. And a house divided itself will not stand. It will not stand. And this goes for everything from a country to a household. If one parent is going to church every Sunday, asking their kids how their Bible study was, doing Bible studies with them, the other parent strolls in, let's say 9 o'clock after a long, hard day of work. Nothing wrong with that. Good for you for providing for your family. That's fantastic. Come home, kiss the wife on the head, kiss your kids goodnight. Not a single word, just go to bed. Maybe you have a day off with them. You want to take your kids to the park. Go for a swim. That's fantastic. It's not about that. It's not just about doing things with your kids. It's about installing the holy message into their lives and leading by example. Both parents. Not one parent going to Bible studies, going to church with the kids, while the other parent stays at home and watches the game. To me, that's a divided house. And a house divided against itself will not stand. It will not, under any circumstances. Will not. Now, if, for those of you who are Christian, who have Christian marriages and are in Christian relationships, my hat goes off to you. It's an amazing thing, a rare thing to see, let alone a marriage work out. But to have that Christian faith behind that marriage is so crucial to any kid's life. Just leading by example and having that kind of compassion. Now, when I came home from this camp that I'd been caught smoking weed at, I'm expecting to come home and my parents are gonna have the torture device waiting in the basement. They're gonna take me down there and maybe shackle me up. I was actually, it was one of the furthest things from my mind once I left the camp. When my mom came and picked me up from church to go home from the camp, and she just looks at me and she goes, "Really? Really? Is that okay?" No long, how could you do this? None of that. No condemning whatsoever. They got me involved with the church more. They got me everything I needed and everything that I could possibly want. And they were there. They supported me and they helped me through the stage I was going through. Now, youth going through that same stage, having maybe one parent live in another state while one's here, that's not productive at all. It takes a team. It takes a village to raise a kid, and I think I'm a good example of that. Now, the people that haven't given up on me, they're all, well, the majority of them are sitting in the same row up front, and they're still there from day one, still there. Always been sitting in the front row. Always been my biggest supporters, my number one fans. Most youth don't have that. It breaks my heart. It really does. And the youth leaders here at Riverton and in town, they're just all amazing people and all very excellent at leading by example. Because they don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk. Go into any of their homes, first thing they do is greet you and ask you if you want some water or how's your day's been. Let's pray before we do anything. That's leading by example. Now, I was prayed over at this camp by many people, and by somebody who I'd never met before this camp, became a huge motivation and inspiration in my life, and she saw so much potential in me. Just like I said, all the other leaders, and I didn't even see in myself, but she saw it, and she gave me this cross here. It had been given to a young man who was in a very severe car accident, and it was prayed over by a lot of people in town, prayed over by a lot of leaders. And she said, "I want you to have this, and I want you to take this with you everywhere you go." I've had it now for 5 years. I keep it in my car, so I take it everywhere that I go. And I'm so fortunate that at that camp those people saw what they did in me, and that I actually believed them. Now, as for my friend, he didn't have the kind of support I did. He's now in Florida, I believe. He's doing God knows what. Drugs, gangs, all that. He didn't get to go home to his grandparents and his parents waiting to support him and get him the help he needs. He got home. The first thing his mother did to him was tell him to pack up and we're leaving. He said, you'll never be able to talk to him again. Took him away from church, took him out of state, took him away from people that he really needed to be around. But it's a prime example of what can happen to a youth with no support system. No one leading by example. So I ask you to take the challenge as a parent or a grandparent. And don't just talk the talk, walk the walk, lead by example. Thank you.